About a month ago, Bandai finally announced the Digimon Pendulum color, the follow-up to the Digital Monster color, featuring the first three versions of the original Pendulum series: Nature Spirits, Deep Savers, and Nightmare Soldiers. These devices held some very classic Digimon on them and are personally some of my favorite devices of all time, and it is so exciting to see them remade into a modern format. Now, at the time that the announcement came out, we only knew that the original rosters would be returning, and we knew a few bonus Digimon that would be coming. We also knew a lot of the mechanics, and so if you want to go back and find out more about the devices themselves, make sure to check out my previous video on the Digimon Pendulum color that I released at the beginning of October. But as of now, Bandai has revealed to us several more things, including the entire rosters for each of these devices. So we're going to be going over that today, showing you everything that's on this. Now, the pre-orders for these have closed from Premium Bandai Japan and Premium Bandai US. So if you did miss your chance to get a pre-order in, do not worry, there are still shops out there selling pre-orders even though you can't get them directly from Bandai anymore. Shops like Japan You Want, Zen and TCG, and I think even Hobby Genki might still have them up, but make sure to check around. If you're not in the Discord server, join it. We have a How to Buy VPets channel where you can see various sources for acquiring devices like these. So those shops should have some extra stock for pre-orders that you can get, but do act fast just in case they start running out. You don't want to miss out on this if you really like these. Now, if you're not sure, don't worry, stay tuned. We're going to be showing you off the rosters. If you see a Digimon you like and then you decide, great, but we'll go ahead and start off by looking at Nature Spirits. So here we have all the sprites that were revealed. They look absolutely lovely. Nature Spirits, of course, is one of my personal favorite fields in the original series, specifically because it has two of my top three favorite Digimon. It has Triceramon and it has Okuamon. Triceramon pretty much looks perfect, exactly as you would expect it to look. Okuamon, I did not know what to expect, but I am happy with what we got. Very pleased to see it's still got that little mischievous grin. I never know if that's actually what it was meant to be on the sprite, because of course the sprite was almost definitely made before the artwork in this case. You could definitely tell that with some of the original Digimon sprites which one came first. But I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm parsing that incorrectly, but I've always seen him as having a weird sneaky little smile going on there. So very happy to see it here in color, and lots of other great options on here as well. So we're gonna not focus so much on the Digimon that were on the originals, but let's focus on the new ones. You've already seen a few of them here, so we're gonna go ahead and talk about these. So first up, we have Blastmon filling the vaccine slot for Ultimate, which on all these devices, the idea is that they're rounding out the rosters by adding 3 more Ultimates to each one, because before there were only 3 Ultimates at the end of the lines. And there were 6 adults and 6 perfects, so adding 3 more will bring the ultimates up to 6 as well. 1 for each attribute, although that might not be exactly 100% attribute based, but it's pretty close at least. So Blastmon is filling the vaccine slot. We already knew about Eldoradimon, which originally I had put in the vaccine slot because I thought it was a vaccine in my personal guess, but I took it off in favor of Blastmon, or in favor, not in favor of Blastmon. No, it was. Yeah, I chose Blastmon, so I got that guess right. I took Eldoradimon off, though, and put in Pile Volcamon, just because, I don't know, thought it'd be cool to have him on there, but nah, that's not on there. It is Eldoradimon after all, shouldn't have taken him off. I did guess Grand Koagamon correctly, though, although it is not traditionally a virus. It's occupying the virus slot here, but I don't know if it'll actually be a virus on the device itself. These days in the reference book, it is a free attribute, as are most of the Digimon that debuted on the D3 device because of the mechanics of that device. So whether it becomes a virus like it used to be in the card game, or whether it sticks with free, which is what it traditionally is, we will have to wait and see on that. But either way, great choice. Love Grand Koagamon. And then we have our 2 Jogress Digimon. So there are, on all 3 versions, 2 Jogresses, one of which is a backup Jogress and one of which is a connection Jogress. So this first one we have here is Tlalokmon. It is a brand new Digimon, which we've already talked about before, and it is a Jogress specifically of Saberleomon and Eldoradimon. So really cool to see that brand new thing here. Really good design overall. Love the whole electricity and kind of water thing going on there. I don't know much about ancient Mesoamerican cultures or anything, so I'm not going to pretend to know what it's referencing, but it is cool regardless. So that's the on-device backup Jogress, because you can Jogress with your Digimon in backup. The other one, the connection Jogress, is going to be Mastemon, which was a pretty obvious choice because you have Anjoamon on the Nature Spirits device, you have Lady Devimon on the Nightmare Soldiers device, so Mastemon is obviously included. That's just how it works. So in addition to that, there are guest stars on all these devices, and I classify guest stars as Digimon that are clearly there in tandem with another media. We had these on the X series with the X2. We had guest stars from Frontier, from Re-Arise, from whatever that Chinese game was called, New Encounters, I think it was. So those are not a new concept to VPETs like this. And in this case, the guest stars are coming from two sources, the first of which is Ghost Game. So from Ghost Game and Nature Spirits, we have Angoramon, who evolves into Jimba, Angoramon, who evolves into Lamormon, who evolves into Diarbitmon. And yeah, he's fine. He likes haikus. I don't know if you watch Ghost Game, he's a pretty neat Digimon. I'm happy to have him here. Not much more to say about that. We already knew about Angoramon. We knew about all three of the child stages for the guest stars. We just didn't know for sure that the rest of them would be in there, even though they said basically that they would be. We just didn't have like full confirmation, but now we do. So this is not at all unexpected. Moving on to the best device, we have Deep Savers with an absolutely magnificent roster. The Deep Savers, by its original roster, is already pretty much perfect. Now, these new additions, I have some that I love, some that I'm like, eh. Regardless, it is just super great to see Deep Savers in color, all these great sprites. Zudomon's a little bit lighter than I would have expected. Zudomon, of course, being my #1 favorite Digimon. Triceramon and Okuamon are numbers 3 and 2 respectively, while Zudomon is absolutely #1. But regardless, he still looks great. Very, very excited to see that on there. All these Digimon. Very happy to see Gomamon using that sprite instead of the horrible one they use in most modern Digimon games where he looks angry all the time. I do not like what they did with Gomamon sprite in modern games. But let's move on to actually talking about the Digimon that are new on this. So for the vaccine slot, we have another Grand Koagamon situation because Vikemon is also traditionally a free attribute, and Vikemon is very, very frequently associated with Zudomon. It is Joe's partner in Digimon Adventure Tri and Digimon Colon, and so not exactly an unexpected choice. I was hoping for King Waymon there, but we did not get King Waymon. Maybe it'll be codified in the reference book at some point, but still not today, even though it has a card game card. Can you believe that? So no, still no King Waymon. I was also thinking about Neptunemon, but Vikemon is a solid choice. So as long as Zudomon can still evolve into Marine Angemon, I'm still happy. If he can't, I'm going to be very, very upset. But I'm assuming, based on how this is set up, that everyone will have, like, every perfect, I should say, will have one natural option and one Jogress option, kind of like how adults do going into perfect. So that may or may not be the case. On the original device, some perfect Digimon just flat out couldn't evolve, like Waymon was not able to evolve in the Deep Sabers. So I assume they'll at least fill that in like they did with the Pen 20, and as far as the ultimates go, like I say, probably one will be the natural, one will be the Jogress. Moving on to a pick I'm very, very, very happy about. I have been waiting for this for a long time. Jumbo Gamemon has returned. He has not been on a device since the IC, and that's a long, long time ago. That's over, there's a lot of Digimon you can say that about, of course. There's a lot of Digimon that have been absent from devices, but with the Vital Bracelet, at least, a lot of them have been getting attention, but no, Jumbo Gamemon has been just completely MIA, and there it is. Absolutely magnificent Digimon. Obviously, we don't have the rest of its line in there with Kamemon and all that. Kamemon, of course, being my favorite child stage Digimon. I like turtles a lot, in case you didn't know that. That's a lot of the reason why Zudomon appealed to me when I first saw it, because it was one of the few Digimon that had a big turtle shell on it. The only other option was Tortamon, but Tortamon's a tortoise, so didn't appeal to me as much as Zudomon did. Either way, Jumbo Gamemon, absolutely thrilled to see this. I actually had this as a pick for Metal Empire, but it is very frequently used in Deep Sabers, especially in the old card game Alpha, so not surprising to see it here. Very thrilled about it, very happy with that choice. My original pick, I don't remember what it was, but either way, it wasn't this, so it doesn't matter, I got it wrong. The virus slot, not so thrilled with. We could have had a few good options here. Leviamon and Regalicusmon would have been perfect for this, but we got something I don't like, and that is a filthy recolor, and then a bunch of people will say it's not a recolor because it's got like different wings and stuff, but it's like, no, it's still a recolor. Like, they literally traced Marine Angemon's art to make this, and then made some alterations on it, so that is, I'm not a fan of that type of Digimon. I'm not a fan when they just lazily just trace over it and call it a new Digimon. At least give it a new profile art. Like, they upgraded Tekkamon. Why can't you upgrade you didn't even have to, like, I don't know. I'm just upset that Cthulhamon came out. They could have given it a whole new art, made it unique and everything, but no, they just are like, no, we don't care. Here's the regular old art of Marine Angemon, but it's blue and smiling weird, so regardless, the sprite looks better. I'm happy about the sprite. It doesn't look as much like a recolor there. It's got some distinct features, so that's good. I don't know. As far as recolors do go, though, Cthulhamon's at least my favorite one, but it's still a recolor. Anyway, moving on. The Super Ultimates, the Jogress Digimon. We have Aegisdramon, which was pretty much already known. They showed the silhouette of the sprite for it, and that's going to be a Jagras of Metal Seedramon with Plesiomon, as it traditionally is in the reference book. Well, the reference book says a Plesiomon, or a Seedramon species, but Metal Seedramon being the ultimate is generally the one being used for that. And then we have a very, like, we kind of guessed it might be this from the sprite, but a lot of us were like, but that wouldn't make sense for Deep Sabers, so that's probably not it. But oh, well, they did go with Mitamamon. I don't know the logic here. It probably makes more sense with the Digimon it would Jagras from on the Wave 2, because we do know that you can't get Mitamamon by Jagrasing from the current wave. So it evolves from Marine Angemon and something that will be on the second wave of Pendulum color devices. We just don't know which. We don't even know which device it will be from. Mitamamon, if you're unaware, is the ultimate form of Kudamon as used in Digimon Re-Arise. I didn't play Re-Arise, but I at least know that much, and that is all I'm going to tell you. Moving on to the guest star, we have Jellymon, an obvious pick from Ghost Game, with its evolutions Tesla Jellymon, Thetismon, and Amphimon. Amphimon being a very unexpected final form for this Digimon, I have to say, especially like with the direction it started going with Thetismon, and I like it. I like how they went with this one. Jellymon's a pretty cool Digimon, one of the best parts of Ghost Game. That's all I'm going to say. Moving on to Nightmare Soldiers. This roster here, once again, another lovely, lovely set of sprites. Don't know if there's any standouts in particular because I'm not a big Nightmare Soldiers person myself, but regardless, these sprites do look good. Nightmare Soldiers, of course, is very popular because it's, you know, like, oh no, super edgy kind of thing. And even though we've left middle school behind us, a lot of us didn't leave that part of us behind. So, and I'm not judging either. So you do you, whatever you like. The new Digimon that were added to this, so the vaccine and data slot were exactly as predicted. We have Anubimon and Noble Pumpmon. Pretty obvious choices because when it comes to Nightmare Soldiers, there's not a lot of vaccines and there's not a lot of datas. And the Digimon that they would correspond with the Anubimon corresponding with Wergurumon, makes sense. Both like dog-like things. And Pumpmon's on this. Obviously, they're going to go with Noble Pumpmon for the ultimate. So those were pretty obvious picks, I have to say. Last pick, however, for Virus. 100% did not expect this. I don't know if anyone expected this, but it's Callismon. We recently had a V-Tamer Digimon return from the dead, that being Dominamon on the Vital Bracelet, and now we have another. This is another Digimon that was exclusive to V-Tamer. No, I still haven't read V-Tamer. Maybe someday I will, but not today. Regardless, I know who Callismon is. It now has some crazy good-looking reference book art. The old art for it was just a kind of a colored-in version from the original comic, I guess, but this one's much more in the traditional Digimon style, much beefier, much bigger, and much more purple than it was previously. So either way, very excited to see it here. That is not a pick, again, that I would have ever guessed, but I'm way here for it. It's really cool to see it back, and definitely fits in very well with Nightmare Soldiers. The Jagras Digimon are, again, obvious picks. Voltaboutamon is traditionally a Digimon that Jagrases with Piemon and Vamdamon, and they're both on Nightmare Soldiers, so here it is. Likewise, Mastemon. Lady Devimon's on this, Andromon's on Nature Spirits, so you get Mastemon. That's just how it works. And then we have our guest stars for the device, and that's going to be Lugamon, Lugarmon, Soul Lugarmon, and Fenra Lugamon from Digimon Seekers. So Ghost Game being the first source for guest stars, Seekers is the second. And I'm very surprised they went with Soul Lugarmon. Well, not too surprised, it's kind of like the primary intended evolution, but Hellugarmon just fits so much better on Nightmare Soldiers that I would have expected them to go with that, but whatever. I also don't like Solugarmon at all. Like, just look at it. Like, what are you doing here? Mach Algamon already exists. Let him fill that niche. Yeah, whatever. So that's that. That's everything on Nightmare Soldiers, and that's everything on the Wave 1 devices. And these are going to be releasing in February, so look out for them at that point. I'll obviously have a review of them when they do release. But between now and then, the question, of course, is going to be is when are we getting Wave 2? And we do know Wave 2 is coming because A, Mitamamon comes from a connection between Deep Sabers and a Wave 2 device, and B, why would they make just the first 3 versions of the Pendulum? That wouldn't make any logical sense to anyone, not even Bandai. So we will be getting Wave 2 at some point. The announcement might come around the release of the Wave 1 devices, so that would line up pretty well with Digimon Con, assuming they're doing that again. I don't know why they wouldn't, so we'll look out for an announcement around then, maybe shortly thereafter, maybe shortly before, who knows? We'll keep a close eye on that. Obviously, I'll have a new video when that happens, and the Digitama Hatchery news channel will be updated immediately to let you know that there is something cool to look at somewhere. So for now, though, we're going to talk about Wave 2. We're going to talk about some speculation. I did a speculation stream for all 6 devices before, and got a few things right, many things wrong. I will tell you right now, I was not expecting the guest stars whatsoever. I wasn't expecting that because, they didn't add anything extra to the digital monster color apart from just the additional ultimate forms and the Jagresses, which you would expect for a device referencing an older device. But no, for this one, they actually added a whole new line, so I've updated my predictions to reflect that and a few other things. So we'll talk about that. We'll see what I think, and hopefully you can share what you think as well. So starting off with Wind Guardians. So Wind Guardians was an interesting device because it itself was normal, but its 0.5 version, the Wind Guardians 4.5, was unique in that it didn't replace an adult perfect and ultimate like the other ones did. It replaced a child perfect and ultimate. So there were only 6 adults total across the Wind Guardians and 4 children, which was very different from the other devices. Normally speaking, with the .5s, you would take one Digimon off and replace it with another one. But for 3 total Digimon, that would do that. So that's how those work. Now, of course, the Pendulum colors, they have both rosters combined. But the question becomes, are they going to treat it just like that on this, or are they going to fill in that missing adult slot to kind of make it more even out? Is Palmon still going to hang out? Well, almost certainly. I can't imagine them getting rid of Palmon. And they probably also won't add the other adult slot because there's not really a pure reason to. And it would make this device a little uneven compared to the others. Not that they've ever necessarily had a problem with uneven devices, but I don't fully expect it. So I'm hoping for it. That's why I'm putting a prediction on here. But I don't necessarily think that it's going to happen. So as for my actual picks, so we'll talk about the ultimates first. So for the vaccine slot, it's a very obvious choice. It's Ulforce Veedramon. That's not even a question. That's going to be on there. All right. Wind Guardians had even spoiled on the Pen 20 by getting an extra ultimate like that when other versions didn't. They're just like, well, Arrow Veedramon's there. Gotta have Ulforce Veedramon. So yeah, there's no doubt in my mind that's going to be on there. Lotusmon, I think, is also a very likely pick. We do know Rafflesimon is pretty much confirmed for this device. There's a few Digimon that were shown in a poll that at the time they were shown, we didn't know for sure if the Deep Sabers and Nightmare Soldiers rosters would have them on it. But sure enough, Cathilamon, which was shown in the poll, and, well, Lugarmon, or actually Noble Pumpmon would be the one to go for. So Cathilamon and Noble Pumpmon were both confirmed, and they were in that poll image. Rafflesimon was in that image. Rafflesimon's probably in. Question will be, is it going to be a super ultimate like it was on the Pen 20? I think the answer is yes. So I think Lotusmon will be on this so that it can Jagras with Rosemon like it did on the Pendulum version 20th. And yeah, that would make the most sense to me. Virus slot, gotta go with Hydramon. Hydramon is just such an excellent Digimon, and I think it would be an amazing addition. There is a little bit of bias there because I just do really like Hydramon, but it's also a pretty good pick and very likely one, I think. As for the missing adult that I'd like to fill in, I think that Sunflowmon would be the best option there. Matches up well with other Digimon on the device like Lilymon and Blossomon, so yeah, I think that would be a good one to throw in there. As already stated, the on-device Jagras would likely be Rafflesimon if we were to go with Lotusmon on this for the missing Data Ultimate. And then I would assume, based on other things that would appear on the Metal Empire and Virus Busters devices, that Mitamamon would most likely come from this device. And some of you might think, well, it's from Kudamon, and Kudamon's like a Virus Buster, right? Yes, however, I don't think that Kudamon and its line would appear on the Virus Busters for a few reasons, and I don't know, it would just be weird if like you had like Sletmon evolve into Mitamamon. I don't know, I guess not that weird. I don't know. It's just not what I feel like. It's not what I've been feeling as most likely. I feel like it's most likely to be in the Wind Guardians field. As for what it would evolve from, I could see it coming from Griffomon, not sure otherwise, but regardless, that's where I'm putting it for now. And then that brings us to the backup picks, just in case these ones don't work out, right? So for Vaccine Valkyrimon, that is another free Digimon that I think could fill the Vaccine slot based on how it's generally presented. It's another one of the O2 Ultimates, this being Sylphimon's ultimate form, and would fit alongside Vikemon and Grand Kawagamon, so I can see that being used. However, once again, I do not think Ulforce Veedramon is not going to be used. It's like a shoo-in. Valkyrimon's not going to be in. Ulforce is going to be on. If they don't end up going with Lotusmon, I could see Sarasmon as being the data ultimate for this device. And if they don't go with Hydramon, this one was a tough pick because there weren't a lot of good plant options that I can think of. But as far as virus, I mean, I guess you could say Algamon might be a good option, but Algamon's not often used with his fellow plant brethren. But Ornithmon being a bird, even though the plants are what dominate the virus on the Wind Guardians, I think that a bird virus would be a good way to help round out more of that necessity to have actual flying Digimon on what's called Wind Guardians. Rafflesimon is still the only Digimon I can think of that would be a good super ultimate, so I didn't even come up with a backup for that one. Sorry. And there's also the possibility that Rafflesimon could be used as the Data ultimate, not the Joggers ultimate, just because Rafflesimon has been used both ways. Originally it was used as a super ultimate, it's been used as a normal ultimate too, so could be either way. Now you'll see I have Oryumon here, and that might make no sense. I'm sorry, I have Alphamon Oryukin on here, and that might make no sense whatsoever, but we'll talk about that when I get into the guest star, and that's a pick that I really don't think is likely, but I'm just throwing it on here as a, bizarre what-if scenario. So the guest stars that I'm predicting, so this one is probably the most basic pick right now. This is what most people are thinking Wind Guardians would include, would be Pulsemon. Not just because Pulsemon was the mascot of the Vital Bracelet, but because it is also a Seekers Digimon. It's one of the main protagonists, I guess, in there. Haven't read Seekers. Maybe I will one day. How many Digimon media have I interacted with? Apparently not that many. Doesn't matter. I like the P-Pets. So in Seekers, Pulsemon follows its basically traditional route, even though Pulsemon debuted with 4 adults, 6 perfects, and 4 different ultimates. It boils down to this little generic line here, which is not a bad line, honestly. It's just like very much like, oh, it's very theme appropriate. Everyone's all spiky and yellow and green. So whatever. I'm not going to talk about that right now. But we have Bulkmon, Boutmon, and Kazuchimon as the guest stars on this. And with Kazuchimon being here, that might also lead you to believe, oh, well, couldn't that mean we could see Fenrilugamon, Takemi Kazuchi? And I'm going to guess not. I wouldn't think that they would lie to us about not having that on the Nightmare Soldiers device, because we were already told there are 32 Digimon, and we've seen 32 Digimon, so I do not expect there to be a Fenrilugamon Takemi Kazuchi mode on either device, Wind Guardians or on Nightmare Soldiers. I also don't really expect the guest stars to Joggers in general, but that didn't stop me from my backup pick, which is going to be Ryudamon, Ginryumon, Hisharyumon, and Oryumon, which again also appear in Seekers, so it would be a good choice there. If they don't want to go with Pulsemon, maybe they want to put Pulsemon in Metal Empire. I don't know, I think it would fit good there as well. But this one I think is less likely than Pulsemon, just because Ryudamon's been around a lot longer, and they kind of want to show off the newer Digimon more than they would these older ones. So that's where Alphamon Oryukin came from, is just in case they include Ryudamon and Dorumon pair on these devices. So not likely, but just putting it out there as a possibility. So that brings us to Metal Empire, and with the Metal Empire roster, this one was very difficult, and I couldn't really think of a whole lot, I'm not going to lie. So, which is surprising. There's a lot of Digimon that do fit well into Metal Empire, but not a lot that fit well into the roster for it, and I don't really know how to explain what I mean, but this roster kind of felt like to me making it. This is the one where I can definitely see them not going this route, and I also hope they don't necessarily go this route, because I think it's kind of boring, the choices I made, so let's talk about those. So up first is Hyandramon. Hyandramon is another Digimon that appeared on that poll, so it's basically confirmed at this point that we'll see it, and it's, the obvious choice. Andromon is on this, Hyandramon's on this. People with the Digital Monster Color version 3 are probably not thrilled about that, but that is definitely what I would expect to see. Data Metal Empire Digimon are hard to come by, and Grand Locomon is really the only one I could think of that wasn't a Mamemon. And there are a lot of Mamemon. There's Bancha Mamemon, Tonosama Mamemon, Prince Mamemon, probably at least one more that I didn't think of just now off the top of my head, but there's quite a few. And so I think any of those could be it, but out of those, I feel like Grand Locomon's still more likely for some reason. I don't know why exactly, but that's just my gut feeling there. And then Viruses, Gundramon. Originally I was not going to pick this. I wasn't going to pick Gundramon, but it is such a bizarre fan favorite at this point for just how over the top and stupid it is that I could definitely see them putting it in. And the main reason I didn't want to go with either Grand Locomon or Gundramon though is because they're both on the Pendulum Z, and I didn't want to necessarily just ape that roster, but that is kind of what I ended up doing there. But like I say, I had a hard time thinking about this one. We'll go to the backup picks in a second, but before we do, the Joggresses, bringing back Rust Tyrannomon from the DM20, where it was used as a Jogress between Mugendramon and Edistramon. On this device, I could see it being a Jogress between Mugendramon and Gundramon, if Gundramon were to be included. I could really see it coming from just about anything. It would fit good with most of them, apart from Wargreymon and Metal Garurumon, who, of course, would be the Omegamon option, which that would be, in this case, the connection slot, because we'll also have Wargreymon and Metal Garurumon on Virus Busters. So rather than use them as the backup Jogress, I'm using them here as the connection Jogress, though it could go one way or the other. Impossible to say. This is all speculation. As for my backup picks, I actually like these more. Well, that's not true. I don't like Justimon at all. Justimon is a really boring Digimon that I do not care for, and it is insane to me that they go from Cyberdramon to that in Tamers, because, man, Cyberdramon is just so much cooler, but that's how it goes with Perfects and Ultimates a lot of times. Perfects are just generally the better stage. But for Data and Virus, I went with Crestgarurumon and Blitzgreymon from the DM20 was their original appearance. Now, this one I do only find less likely just because they appeared on the Digital Monster Color, and they wouldn't want to repeat that many Digimon, you would think, but who can say for sure? So they're my backup picks on this, specifically because they would make great Jogress fodder for Omegamon Alter S, of course. It would be, pretty obvious pick there to go with. And then there we see Alphamon Oryuken again, just in case of my guest star backup pick. But before we get to the backup pick, my primary pick for Metal Empire guest star is going to be Commandramon. Now, Commandramon's not a new Digimon to Seekers, but it does have a whole new line from Seekers. Originally, Commandramon evolved to Sealsdramon and then into Tankdramon and Darkdramon on the Excel. Obviously, other Digimon did too, but that was kind of its accompanying line that came out. But we got new lore, and apparently those Commandramon who are not cool enough to become Sealsdramon end up becoming High Commandramon. And that's what we have there, along with Cargodramon and Brigadramon, which is totally not Wargreymon with a jet on its back. I think this one is very, very likely. I could definitely see them doing this. It really does make a lot of sense. And it would fill in another Seekers quota for the guest stars. But just in case they opt to go and decide that they really wanted to have Alphamon Oryuken on there again, I also put on Dorumon in its line. Now, I don't have Alphamon on there, again, because this is just kind of I don't know. It's kind of bogus. I really don't expect this, but I'm going to put it out here anyway because I got to have a backup. So Dorumon, Dorugamon, Dorugoraemon, and Dorugoramon, because apparently that's how it goes in Seekers, I believe. I think that's the case. Again, didn't read Seekers. Not going to read Seekers anytime soon. But I could see them either going that or Alphamon so they can get the Oryuken. And I don't think that it's likely. I do think my primary pick of Commandramon is far more likely. And yeah, I'm good there. Let's move on. Virus Busters. So Virus Busters is the only original Pendulum that did not have a .5 release. There is no Digimon Pendulum 0.5, and as such, I decided, well, since there wasn't, they still should have 32 Digimon, so they should add another line. And I'm using the same pick that I used from my original speculation stream, and yeah, we'll talk about that. So Virus Busters is also interesting because it does not follow normal attribute theming, and that's a weird thing about it because there were no Virus Digimon on it whatsoever originally. In this case, we actually have one Virus Digimon that will be included, and it's almost basically guaranteed. But I can definitely see them not opting to put many more viruses on this, similar to what they did with the Pen 20. So let's jump right into it with the Ultimates. In the original, the Ultimates were Wargreymon, Metal Garurumon, and Omegamon. Omegamon being a Jogress of Angeomon and Holyangomon, or of Metal Garurumon and Wargreymon. But now, obviously, Omegamon's going to be upgraded to just a normal Jogress, so that leaves 2 slots open for the virus section. So we'll fill those in, but for vaccine, my original pick there was Marsmon, because I'm like, well, he's fiery and lion-esque, so that makes sense to go with Asuramon and Leomon. But as I started thinking about it, I'm like, well, what would a good on-device Jogress be for these Digimon? And Grace Novamon came to mind, and I'm like, well, yeah, that would actually fit really, really well. And despite the fact that this seems more like a dream scenario to me than anything, I could still see it happening. I still think that it's got a good chance of happening just because of how well it fits when you think about it. So Apollomon as the vaccine, Dianamon as the data, and then they can combine together to make Grace Novamon. It honestly makes a ton of sense to me the more I think about it, and I'm probably entirely wrong, but I still think it would be a perfect fit. Again, Apollomon fits that lion theme and the fiery theme, and Dianamon fits the Metal Mamemon theme of whatever, who cares? And then as for the angels at the bottom, those are the same ones used in the Pen 20. So Holyangomon becoming Seraphimon, Angeomon becoming Ophanimon. Pretty obvious picks, and I fully expect those to be what they use. But just in case, we once again have our backup. Well, actually, no, we're not going to backups yet. I got to talk about the other picks first. Mekumon, Maycrackmon, and Razielmon as the extra line. These would be the .5 versions that would have replaced Tailmon, Anjouamon, and I guess Omegamon in this case. So those are, I think, a good option to add. I don't necessarily think they'd be likely. This is more so just kind of a shot in the dark, and I'm like, yeah, that works, because the Pendulum series was very big on influencing adventure. So a lot of the adventure Digimon came from the Digimon Pendulum, and this would kind of help round that out to Adventure Tri, whether you like it or not. Meikumon was the extra Digidestined there, and I think that would be a solid option to put on as the additional line that we would get, if we do get an additional line, which I hope we do. Then Jogger's options, Grace Novamon and Omegamon, as you would expect. And then on to the actual backup picks. First one we have there is another V-Tamer Digimon, Regulamon. Now, this was not my thought, but this is something that KR Verde from the Hatchery server suggested, and I'm like, you know what? If they're bringing back other V-Tamer Digimon, why not? I think that's a good option, so I could definitely see them deciding, hey, guess what? Regulamon's back, and that would be really cool. Help round things out a little bit. There's still a few V-Tamer Digimon that we locked away, but they'll slowly get there, right? Data, Prince Mamemon to go along with Metal Mamemon. I think that Prince Mamemon fits better on Virus Busters than it does on Metal Empire, personally, so I can see them going that route. And I would love to see this last one, because Lovely Angemon is a much cooler variant of the Angemon family than Ophanimon is. Honestly, Ophanimon's really boring to me, and I think this one, with its whole like Sailor Moon getup, is just way cooler. I would love to see Lovely Angemon. I don't think that it would be used over Ophanimon, but I would love for it to be. And then the last two here are Joggers from other devices, because I kind of think they have a chance of appearing on Virus Busters too. So Mastemon did appear as an evolution on the Pen 20, of course, from Virus Busters, because Anjouamon's on there. But it would fill a slot on this one. That's the difference between this and the Pen 20. Is the Pen 20, everything's together. Everything counts, you know, as one thing. There's only one Anjouamon. You can just get it on 2 eggs. Here it would be like a wholly separate Anjouamon that first they would have to code for in the original, in the Nature Spirits Pendulum color, which they might, they can, and they have done those sorts of things before. But they'd also have to use up a slot on the Virus Busters, and assuming that they would only have 32 Digimon, I would really hate to see one of those slots get used by Mastemon. There's better options, so even though I think it's a likely pick, to be honest with you, I'm hoping against it. And then Mitamamon, similarly, I could see it just as equally being a Holy attribute associated Digimon as opposed to a Wind attribute associated one. But I still think that it would be more likely on Wind Guardians, but here is a backup just in case. And then as for our guest star, this one is basically confirmed because we did see Siriusmon in that poll image for the Virus Busters section, so Gamamon, Beetle Gamamon being its most used evolution in the show, and kind of like the de facto, like, yeah, this is Gamamon's normal evolution, even though it has a whole bunch of those. But that's the one I would most likely expect to see. And then evolving into Kanavicemon and then into Siriusmon. I think it would also be cool is if instead of the Meikumon line that I included, is if they had the Gulus Gamamon line as well, including Gulus Gamamon, Arcturusmon, and Regulusmon. Is that the order? Regulusmon and then Arcturusmon. Whatever, it doesn't matter. I think that would be cool too. I feel that one would be less likely than Meikumon even, but not too far less likely to where I think it's impossible. So certainly a possibility. But with that, we have reached the end of the rosters, the end of the speculation. That is all that there is. So let me know what you think. Which options do you think are likely? Which options do you think are unlikely for the Wave 2? As for the Wave 1, which ones did you get? Did you pick up all 3? Did you pick up just one with your favorite Digimon on it? Let me know. I've obviously picked up all 3. I'll be doing videos about them whenever they do come out up in February. So very excited about them. Very excited to have that Deep Savers device. Even though it's orange. Not a fan of the orange, but still a fan of Deep Savers. So very excited to see it. That is going to do it for now. Again, stay tuned on the Digitama Hatchery's Discord server for any news and just to hang out, just chat, just come be part of the community. And that is going to do it for now. So until next time, bye.